Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, everyone is having a different but inshallah safe and wonderful Ramadan. May Allah accept all your a'mal thus far. We do have some amazing nights, the nights of power coming up. So if you haven't really felt the spark that you needed, or you haven't really thought about things that you can change in your life, these next couple of nights are the nights to make it. That's the nights to make that promise and that commitment with Allah, to say, this is what I'm going to change, or this is a habit I want to get rid of. So inshallah, all of us will keep each other in our du'as, because we all need it. And inshallah, we'll start this program. So this is our third installment of our program with Sheikh Khaled. Today's topic is about Ashab al-Kahf, the people of the cave, which is a very interesting story mentioned in the Quran. And inshallah, we'll start this with the recitation of the Quran by Brother Yasser Diyauddin, which I have invited him, and inshallah he can begin the program with the recitation of the Quran.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا وسهلا. شلونك؟
الحمد لله. شلونك حبيبي؟
الحمد لله. Allah يسلمك. Inshallah, you're staying safe with your family and everyone.
الحمد لله. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. How's Ramadan so far?
It's tough, but you gotta. It is what it is, man.
A lot different than going
to
mosques and ahsaniyas, right? Staying at home.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Inshallah. Yalla, go ahead and begin.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وإذا اعتزلتموهم وما يعبدون إلا الله فأووا إلى الكهف ينشر لكم ربكم من رحمته ويهيئ لكم من أمركم مرفقا. وترى الشمس إذا طلعت تزاور عن كهفهم ذات اليمين وإذا غربت تقرضهم ذات الشمال وهم في فجوة منه. ذلك من آيات الله. من يهد الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وتحسبهم أيقاظا وهم رقود ونقلبهم ذات اليمين وذات الشمال وكلبهم باسط ذراعيه بالوصيد. لو اطلعت عليهم لوليت منهم فرارا ولملئت منهم رعبا. وكذلك بعثناهم ليتساءلوا بينهم. قال قائل منهم كم لبثتم؟ قالوا لبثنا يوما أو بعض يوم. قالوا ربكم أعلم بما لبثتم فابعثوا أحدكم بورقكم هذه إلى المدينة فلينظر أيها أزكى طعاما فليأتكم برزق منه وليتلطف ولا يشعرن بكم أحدا. إنهم إن يظهروا عليكم يرجموكم أو يعيدوكم في ملتهم ولن تفلحوا إذن أبدا. وكذلك عثرنا عليهم ليعلموا أن وعد الله حق وأن الساعة لا ريب فيها إذ يتنازعون بينهم أمرهم. فقالوا ابنوا عليهم بنيانا ربهم أعلم بهم. قال الذين غلبوا على أمرهم لنتخذن عليهم مسجدا. سيقولون ثلاثة رابعهم كلبهم ويقولون خمسة سادسهم كلبهم رجما بالغيب ويقولون سبعة وثامنهم كلبهم. قل ربي يعلم بعدتهم ما يعلمهم إلا قليل فلا تمار فيهم إلا مرءا ظاهرا ولا تستفت فيهم منهم أحدا. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Ahsan. Thank you so much for that wonderful recitation.
Anytime. Thank you so much.
Ahsan. That was a wonderful recitation. A lot of those ayahs, I am sure Sheikh Khaled will be going in depth with them because, he read Surah Al-Kahf. So let me just see if I can find Sheikh Khaled. So he's here. So I'm going to be adding Sheikh Khaled now, which says is unable to join. So we'll just give him, maybe he's having some technical difficulties. I wanted to mention that our stream, this stream is also available on YouTube as well. So if anyone would like to, watch the stream through YouTube, it's available. And, share this link with as many people as you can. We won't be too long, but inshallah, the program is, we have Sheikh Khaled who's going to be, I have some questions, and I think a lot of you answered the questions on Instagram related to the people of the cave. And so we will be discussing their story and the morals of their story and why Allah gave them such significance. So I'm going to be adding Sheikh Khaled now. So inshallah, after that we have a small poem as well by Brother Hamza. So stay tuned for that. Salaam alaikum, Sheikhna.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you, Brother Ali?
Everything.
Allah يحفظكم إن شاء الله. كيف حالكم؟
Allah يسلمك إن شاء الله.
تقبل الله أعمالكم وطاعاتكم إن شاء الله.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. You as well, inshallah. Inshallah, this Ramadan is, I know you're probably at home, but you're probably broadcasting worldwide from home.
Alhamdulillah. We ask Allah's favor and blessing, inshallah.
Yeah, and I was also thinking when we were doing this story about the people of the cave, I thought maybe at the end of the corona, a lot of people might look like they just came out of a cave.
Yeah, we're not far off right now, are we?
Yeah, it's not. Although the people of the cave, they didn't look 300, or how many ever 100 years older. But inshallah. So this is our third installment with Sheikh Khaled. Our story or our topic today is about the people of the cave, which are also called Ashab al-Kahf. Sheikhna, we just wanted, a lot of our viewers might have heard the story, might have heard pieces here and there. Can you just give us a quick summary of the story just for our viewers so that they know exactly who the people of the cave were?
Inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa afdalu salatu wa tamu taslim ala nabiyyina Muhammadin as-Sadiq al-Amin wa ala ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. In the name of God, the merciful, the beneficent, all prayer and praise is due to the Prophet Muhammad and his holy household. So first and foremost, Ashab al-Kahf, or Raqim, as is also called, is named in the Quran, are one of the ayat that the Quran refers to, one of the stories that the Quran refers to. And we know that the Quran says, نَحْنُ نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ أَحْسَنَ الْقَصَصِ, that we recite to you the best of stories. First thing we need to keep in mind is that the stories of the Quran are not intended for geographical reasons, for scientific reasons, for mathematical reasons. The stories of the Quran are intended for us to, or it's intended to strengthen our faith. However, it might use certain other sciences or certain sciences to try to prove a point, but that is not the case behind the Quran. So that's the first story. That's the first point. The second thing is, we see in the verses, there's approximately 18 verses in Surah Al-Kahf that speak about the fellows of the Kahf, or the fellowship of the Kahf. And I was really wondering if I should use the fellowship of the cave, because it really sounds like the Fellowship of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings stuff. But that's essentially what it was. Ashab al-Kahf literally translates to the fellowship of the Kahf. Now, the Quran starts in verse 6. It says, فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعُ نَفْسِكَ عَلَىٰ أَثَرِهِمْ أَنْ لَمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَذَا الْحَدِيثِ أَسَفًا. It says that it's trying to describe the Prophet's state, where it's as if he is causing himself so much grief that it's almost that he's going to kill himself with the grief because people are not believing in this hadith, in the Quran. Then it says, إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا مَا عَلَى الْأَرْضِ زِينَةً لَهَا لِنَبْلُوَهُمْ أَيُّهُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. And this is the point. This is the point that, as we say, is the mihwar in Arabic, which is the point where everything rotates around. Is that everything that has been placed on this earth and in the heavens is to test mankind, to test humanity, to see which of them is deserving and which of them is the better action, or is the best in their action. When it speaks about Ahlul Kahf, it tells the Prophet, أم حسبت أن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم كانوا من آياتنا عجبا. Was it that you think that now you here does not necessarily mean the Prophet himself. It means that the individuals in question. So it could be me, it could be you, it could be the individuals that came and asked the question. In the narrations, it says that a group of non-believers went to the Jews and they told them, give us certain questions to ask Muhammad to see if he's truthful or not. One of those questions was, ask the Prophet ﷺ about Ashabul Kahf. Now, it comes and it says, so this verse in response, it says, is it that you wonder or you think that the fellowship of the Kahf or the Raqim are magnificent from our great ayat, great revelations? In fact, we have greater revelations than that. So that's the first thing that establishes. Then it starts talking about their life and who they were. Now, one thing we have to realize is that the Quran does not go into specifics. The Quran gives generals. So it gives general understandings of the stories, and it leaves the specifics, because in most cases, the specifics and the details don't serve the main narration or the message that the Quran is trying to deliver. So for example, one of the things disputed is how many were there. The Quran says, سيقولون ثلاثة رابعهم كلبهم ويقولون خمسة سادسهم كلبهم. The gist of the ayah. Allah رجم بالغيب. It says that they rajm here means when you throw a stone not knowing where it would land. That they don't have an idea. They're basically claiming the unknown. Nonetheless, it starts describing these individuals, this fellowship, these few males. Now they were all males. There were no women amongst them. There were a few males who believed in a time when the believers were prosecuted. They believed in a time of polytheism. Now a lot of people will ask, what time is that? That is after Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam. So they believed in the Prophet Jesus alayhi salam, and that is whom they took the message from. Now it's unclear if they took the message directly or indirectly. Nonetheless, is that is whom they believed in. They believed in God through Jesus alayhi salam. And one of the things that, due to the prosecution, one of the things that they had to do is that they had to leave their places of, they had to basically migrate. They had to go out of where they were living. And that is not far from what a lot of brothers and sisters have done throughout the ages, especially our fathers, where most of them had to leave their countries because of religious prosecution. Now, in their case, some historians say that these individuals were actually aristocrats within their community. And some say actually they were one of the closest or the favorite of the king himself. So they lived a very luxurious and comfortable life in comparison to everyone else. However, they abandoned all of that in order for them to be closer to their God. So they gave up all of the luxuries and the comforts of life and went to a cave that had no form of luxury, no form of life to speak of, in order to be closer to their Lord, in order to escape the prosecution and be with their Lord. And then they relied on their Lord to pave the way for them, so to speak. That's where the Quran, inshallah, will get into this later on. It says, وَإِذَا اعْتَزَلْتُمُوهُمْ وَمَا يَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ فَأْوُوا إِلَى الْكَهْفِ. So go to the cave. Your Lord will give you sustenance and will guide you. That's just basically the summary of it. Inshallah, we'll dive deeper into it as we go along. I don't want to take too much time because I'm great at taking more time than I need.
So just based on our narrations, do the Ahlul Bayt say how many of them there were?
So there are narrations. The Quran. Let me just find the actual verse so that so that I'm not misquoting the Quran here, especially during Ramadan. Not that we should ever, misquote the Quran. سيقولون ثلاثة رابعهم كلبهم. So they will say that they were three, and the fourth is their dog. ويقولون خمسة سادسهم كلبهم. And they will say five, and their sixth is their dog. رجما بالغيب, as we said, claiming to know the unknown. ويقولون سبعة وثامنهم كلبهم. So we see that the first two description, Allah describes the first two description as رجم بالغيب, that these individuals don't know. They're just simply claiming what they do not know, what they cannot know. Then when the third option, which is 6, and the 7th is their canine, is their dog, the Quran here does not negate it, does not break it down. Where in the first two the Quran breaks down, the third one the Quran does not break down. Rather, the Quran says قُلْ رَبِّي أَعْلَمُ بِعَدَدِهِمْ. Say, indeed, my Lord knows better their number. It's as if Allah is trying to reaffirm the number 6 and 7. So in the number that they were 6, and the 7th is their dog. Now, then it says, وَلَا يَعْلَمُ نعم وَمَا يَعْلَمُهُمْ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. And qalil here, in certain narrations it says, or in certain tafasir it says that this is leading back to the concept that only a few individuals thought that they were 6th and the 7th is their dog. However, that could also mean that they are not necessarily 6 and the 7th is their dog, that they could be a different number. So in the narrations, as far as I read, is that is the leading understanding, is that they were 6th and the 7th was their dog.
Ahsant. And do we know where in the world currently, like where was the cave?
So I like how you put the Q&A on Instagram, eh? Yeah. Where everything, the correct answer is tuning in. So the location of the actual cave. Now there's ideas of where it might be, and there are claims of where it is. However, nobody knows 100%. Okay, the most recognized claim is a cave in Jordan, Amman. Okay, just outside the capital of Jordan, Amman. About, I think, about 8 kilometers, something like that, away from the main city. There is a place there called, give me 1 second, let me confirm. I think it's called Jarib or Rajib. Over there is a cave that is claimed to be the cave of the Fellowship of the Cave. Now, what leads historians and Mufassirin to think that that is the most probable place is, one, there are Byzantine-style tombs in that cave, about 7 or 8, okay, Byzantine-style tombs. Other than that, the Quran says that they took a masjid, they built a masjid, a place of worship, over them. So over this cave, over the area where they were buried, and that is evident in the cave as well from the Byzantine era. Now, that goes hand in hand, because what we would refer to as the Roman Empire, or the Eastern Roman Empire, after the Prophet Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salam, is really known as the Byzantine Empire. So for all intents and purposes, that is the area of Raqim. And that's a point that we should mention, that the Quran says, Ashabul Kahfi wal Raqim. Raqim means a place where you write something down, but it's also the name of the village that is close to there, which in modern day is called Rajib.
Okay. And I guess this question will answer it during, which is how many hundreds of years did they sleep for? But I guess let's go into, so did the people of the cave believe without a prophet? And what was the wisdom of their sleep? Like, why is this story so emphasized in the Quran and we all learn about it? Seems like it's such, there were like, 5, 6 people that, went away. Like, why is this story so important?
Ahsantu. So first of all, no, they did not believe without a prophet. They believed in Isa ibn Maryam salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. So whether that knowledge, as we said earlier, came to them firsthand, so from the prophet or from his disciple, or whether that knowledge came to him through the Christians. Because we have to keep in mind that during the Byzantine Empire, the Christians were extremely oppressed. And the word of Christianity was spreading all over the Byzantine Empire and all over the Western, the Roman Empire as well. So that's one. Second thing is some scholars, they say the evidence or the point of their sleep is a representation of how we will pass away and come and will be resurrected. So that's one way of looking at it, is that just as God, if you guys don't think that God can resurrect you from death. Well, God has left someone sleeping for 300 plus years and then resurrected them. If God can do that, then God can do by association anything else He chooses. That's one. Another thing that we take from it is the fact that these individuals, in a time of oppression, in a time when they feared for their faith, they abandoned the world as is in order to seek their faith. So when we see it's called Ashabul Kahf, the people of the cave, not the people of the sleep, because just as much, it was more important that they slept for 300 plus years rather than the fact that they were in a cave, right? A cave is just simply where they were. Now, it calls Ashabul Kahf. It's as if the Quran is trying to gather your attention towards the fact that these individuals, even though they were aristocrats, even though they had power and they had luxury, which in all honesty, in their time, the luxury that they enjoyed is much more than ours. And what I mean by that is, yes, we have iPhones and we have Lexus and Mercedes and we have PS4s and all of that, but everybody has that level of comfort and luxury. In that time, the level of comfort an aristocrat had is different, and it's very visible versus the commoner folk, So yes, today I sleep on a comfortable bed as well as a millionaire. However, he has a much higher level of comfort when he sleeps on his bed versus Now, these individuals, by the way, are not young. These individuals are older. In fact, that they were considered, I wouldn't want to say seniors, but they were older in age, even though the Quran refers to them as fitya, which is an important fact here. The word feta in Arabic comes from the origin of fatuwa, which means chivalry or goodness. An individual who was strong physically and mentally. Now, in the narration, Imam al-Sadiq salawatullah wasalamu alayhi, he asks one of his companions, he says to him, "Whom do you call a feta?" He says, "An adolescent." He says, "But that's not correct, because the Quran refers to Ashabul Kahf as fitya, and in fact they were old men. A feta is he who stood with his religion, who stands for his religion, who is steadfast in his faith. That is who we call fitya, an individual who is decisive, an individual who does not waver from their identity, being a person of faith, of being a monotheist, an individual who is willing to sacrifice for his faith." So their slumber and their sleep in the cave is a reference to the fact that they abandoned everything for their faith.
Ahsant. And so I think we can take some real lessons in the fact that they were, a couple, like you were saying, a couple of males. They all knew each other, and they were living, a good life. They didn't have any reason to kind of give all that up, but they still saw something that made them say, we'd rather, leave all that behind and, go to something like 180 degrees the opposite of what they had. So how important was it about having that good environment, and how were they able, I guess, was it because they were with each other? Was that what kept them strong? And how important was that environment around them?
Absolutely. So one thing is as you said, being around each other. Having a community and being a part of the community is extremely important, both for your physical and mental health. And that's because your physical and mental health are tied into one another. If you don't have good mental health, then your physical health suffers, and vice versa. Now, it's important to see here that the Quran notes that they were companions. They were Ashabul Kahf, that they were the companions of the cave, the fellowship of the cave, that they were a group together, that they supported one another, that they did not take actions on their own, rather they spoke to one another. And we see that when they wake up from their slumber, one of them asks, he says, "How long did you sleep?" And another answers, he says, "A day or a part of a day." Then another one contradicts that. He says, "It's irrelevant how long you have slept. Allah, God, knows better what you have slept. However, we're hungry, so we should go get food." And then you see that a tribal decision or a collective, sorry, not tribal, a collective decision over who should be the one that goes to get the food, and what kind of food should he get, and then not only that, what should be the method that he takes. So the environment that they had together is extremely important, and not only that, that environment is what kept them together, and it's because of their environment together and because of their unity together that they were able to stand such hardships. It's not easy to be alone. It's in fact, we're not designed to be alone. Therefore, when you see someone who is on the right path, you should connect with that individual. That's why in the narrations we read that the Imams say that an individual who finds a friend in God has found a great treasure, and that they will be friends in the hereafter, that they will be with each other in the hereafter. So the environment that we surround ourselves in is very important. Hence the Imam, salamullahi alayhi, he says, show me your friends and I shall show you yourself in turn. So if you surround yourself with drunks, eventually you will be one of them. If you surround yourself with scholars, eventually you will be one of them. If you surround yourself with halal, that is what you will take in. And if you surround yourself with haram, that is what you will take in as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think the important thing is, I think for the people, or the fellowship, as you call them, of the cave, they didn't sacrifice their identity. So although, they might have migrated to a different place, that identity kept them together. So I guess the question is, how were they able to be so resolute and to, not just, which a lot of us, I unfortunately do in this society, we try to fit in, so we kind of lose our identity, or we say, you know what, it's not as important. How were they able to keep their identity?
You know what, to answer your question, I want to get the ayah. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
The ayah that reads, إِنَّهُمْ فِتْيَةٌ آمَنُوا. Sorry, I'm looking for the ayah. I apologize.
No.
Nonetheless, you know what? If I'm going to keep on looking for it, we're going to take a long time. The Quran says that these are individuals who believed in their God, and therefore we increased in their guidance.
Is it the فَقَالُوا رَبَّنَا آتِنَا مِن لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً?
No. فِتْيَةٌ آمَنُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ. Naam.
Yeah.
The importance of this is what? We see in the Quran, in the second chapter, in the first 5 verses, it says, Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. The second verse of the second chapter. It says, that book in which there is no doubt, that there is guidance for the God conscientious. لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Then it describes the God conscientious. Then it says, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَى هُدًى مِّن رَبِّهِمْ. So here the Quran is trying to emphasize the fact that the individuals who have faith, who are God conscientious, who follow their fitrah, their basic notion and intuition of worshiping Allah, and they stick to it and they correct it and they enforce it, God himself, Jalla Thana'uhu, will also increase them. God will reward them for that guidance by giving them greater guidance. God will reward them for their faith by giving them stronger conviction in their action, to the point where something as great as leaving everything behind and everyone behind and the world behind and living in a cave, to me and you might seem out of the question. I mean, if I come to you and I say, Ali, tomorrow me and you are going to go to the cave and we're going to live out there for the rest of our lives, and you know what, we're only going to take a couple of dollars with us and we'll let Allah pave our way. Most people would look at you and say, I think you're insane. I think you're, you're losing it a bit, They'll call you insane. They'll call you nuts. They'll say, oh, you know what? He's lost it. He's going to go live up in a cave, But that's just it. To them, that wasn't an insane idea. To them, that wasn't a crazy notion that they would abandon everything and go live. And in fact, Allah rewarded them for that even greater. And as we said, the Quran also always mentions that the individuals who have faith and who have tawakkul ala Allah, Allah will endorse their tawakkul, and Allah will guide them further in their faith. The thing is that they have to be true to themselves and stick to their identity, their personal identity. I don't need to be like Ali Sammak, and I don't need to be like Brother Jawad. I need to be like me. I don't need to live up to someone's expectation. I need to live up to Allah's expectation of me. Allah's expectation of me is to be muwahhid, is to be a monotheist, is to be a follower of the Prophet and his Ahlul Bayt. Therefore, Ali Sammak's opinion of me, as much as I value it and as great as it is, at certain points it might not be the correct opinion of me. Because his point of view is different than my point of view. And I will be judged based upon my point of view. You know, I remember, I think you were with us once when the Sheikh Abu Huda, Allah Hafdha, when he says you will be judged according to the capability of knowledge that you have, according to what you can take in from knowledge. So if Allah has created you and given you a capability of getting 30% of the knowledge, then you are judged according to that. If you fall short, then that's because you fell short. You know, so that's just it. Their resolve comes from their conviction in their faith and their identity, and the fact that they were willing to leave everything in order to establish their identity and their faith.
What's a modern example that you can think of? You know, like you said, you know, a lot of people don't have, you know, pick up all their stuff and go live in a cave. But what are kind of modern examples that we can take to say, you know, if you are in this situation, to remove yourself from that situation?
What's a modern example? You mean of individuals or of...
Yeah, just if someone is put in, I guess, in that situation, whether it's, you know, for work or for their friends' circles or things like that, you know, to take...
I don't want to put it. I don't want to put anyone on blast, Ali. Will get me in trouble.
We thought we'd make it more modern, you know, because
you know what the Quran says, "Inna al-insana ala nafsihi basira, walau alqa ma'adira." Indeed, the individual knows himself better than anyone else, even if they give excuses. The fact of the matter is if I go out with a friend and we go to have dinner, and I know it's haram for me to sit at a table that has alcohol, if he doesn't entertain the notion of respecting me and my ideology, why should I entertain the notion of respecting him and his ideology? You know, and I'm not saying flip the table and get mad and start cussing your friend out, but I'm saying there should be that mutual respect where if the individual respects you and respects your ideology, they won't order alcohol, especially if they know beforehand that you're not allowed to drink alcohol, or you're not allowed to be at a table that has alcohol present.
Yeah.
If they respect it, I have all the respect for them. But if they don't respect it, then I don't need to be in that situation. I'll give you a small example. We know that ghiba is haram. That's pretty clear, correct? Backbiting is haram. They narrate that Sayyid Khomeini, rahmatullah alayhi, Ayatollah al-Khomeini, when he was in Iraq, he was giving a lecture in his home. And people would gather in his house. I don't know if you've been to his house in Najaf. It's a rather small place. And they have a little room. That's where he used to give his classes. So the students were gathered, and one of the students entered, and he was visibly upset. Apparently, he had had an argument with another student. So he began backbiting the other student. He began doing ghaiba. Oh, shift Sheikh Flan did this and did that and did so on. So the Sayyid, he told him, he said to him, do not do ghiba. Okay? The man continued. The second time, the Sayyid said to him, you're in my house. I'm asking you not to do ghiba. Now, this is the second time. The man looked at the Sayyid and he says, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I want to do ghiba. Basically is what he's saying. I want to do ghiba. They say that the Sayyid, he says, okay, no problem. And he stood up and left his own home in order for him not to listen to the ghiba of a mu'min. Now, that is an individual who has faith and whose consideration is, or who is more concerned with Allah's consideration of him than the other individual's consideration of him. And likewise at work, if you are at work and you feel that you are having to put, or your religion is being put down and your identity is being put down, you're not forced to be in that position. Allah is the Razaq. Allah is the one that will give you your sustenance. Ali Samak is not going to give me my sustenance, whether I work for him or not. At the end of the day, if you don't get your sustenance, you won't be able to give it to me. And I might get my sustenance from a different option, from a different avenue other than yours. So have faith in your Lord, and walk and let your Lord pave your way, so long as you are on the right path.
Thank you so much. Yeah, those are great examples. Um, Coming down, I have a couple more questions. So why did Allah decide to put the people of the cave, or the fellowship of the cave, asleep for so long? What was the reasoning behind, putting them asleep for that long?
So we kind of referred to that. We kind of referred to the fact that first and foremost is that Allah wanted to prove the fact that Allah can resurrect, or He wanted to show those that did not believe in resurrection that Allah can resurrect individuals after they had slumbered, or they had passed away, or whatever it is, for so long. The second thing is the Quran itself mentions, He says that, and we brought them back in order for them to discuss among themselves how long they slumbered for, how long they were there. Okay. Adding to that is Allah wanted to show them favor, wanted to prove to them their faith, and wanted to reinforce their faith. And another addition to that is the fact that they slumbered for so long is, in all honesty, the timeline, as far as I understand, is not the big deal. The big deal is the reasoning behind it. The big deal is the fact that these individuals saw the favor of God bestowed upon them. And sometimes Allah will do things for the believers themselves. So the proof doesn't always necessarily have to be for all of humanity. The ayat doesn't always have to be for all of humanity. Certain times the ayat could be specific. So this could be a revelation specifically for Ali Samak himself, because he is a person of faith. Adding to that is that the story of Ashab al-Kahf was widely disputed in Arabia at the time. It was widely disputed between the Jews, the Christians, the atheists, the Arabs, the non-Arabs. Everybody disputed it. So when the Quran came, it kind of ended that disputation. That dispute, not dispute, that's not a word. It ended that dispute.
Yeah, okay. And how long? So I think, according to most narrations, it was around 300 years that they were asleep for. Is that correct?
So the Quran says, وَلَبِثُوا فِي كَهْفِهِمْ 300 سِنِينَ وَازْدَادُوا تِسْعًا. So they slumbered in their cave for 300 years, and they were added 9. Now, 300 or 309 years. The difference here is a difference between the solar and the lunar calendar. Okay? For every 100 years in the lunar calendar, you add, for every 300 years in the solar calendar, it's 303 years. Sorry. For every for every 100 years in the solar calendar, it's 303 years in the lunar calendar. Yeah. Okay? So you can look at it from one way. From one way you can look at it is that the Quran is trying to say that, yes, to the Romans or to the Byzantines or to the Christians that use the Gregorian calendar, is 300 years. But to the others who do not use the Gregorian calendar, it's 309 years. That's one. The second thing is that you could look at it from the sense that Allah is trying to sum up that dispute, saying that whether it's 300 or 309 years, it is irrelevant, because the Quran, sorry, not irrelevant, that Allah knows truthfully how long they slept for. Because the Quran says, well, the Quran then narrates, it says, and Allah knows better how long they slept for, or they slumbered for.
Ahsant. And I've seen some narrations that say that they will be amongst the followers of Imam Mahdi. Is there any truth to that?
So there are narrations that refer to that. However, I have not authenticated the narrations, nor do I know anybody that has authenticated the narrations. Rather, that there are narrations that say that some of the individuals that will be resurrected to assist the Imam or to be generals for the Imam salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi are Ashab al-Kahf. Nonetheless, in my opinion, with all due respect, their story is irrelevant to this case. The purpose of their story is that they are individuals who abandon the world for their Lord. You know, now I'm not telling anybody to go and live in a cave. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying be strong in your convictions and in your faith. But yes, the short answer is yes, there are narrations to that effect.
Excellent. So before I ask you this last question. I'm going to open up the comments just so that if anyone has any questions regarding this topic, they can ask it. I'll do that right now. So my final question is, during their time, there were people looking for them. So what protected them while they were in there? What allowed them to stay safe other than, you know, Allah keeping them safe? How did Allah keep them safe?
Ahsantum. So how Allah keeps them safe is not my job or your job. Okay? That's Allah's job, how he keeps them safe. However, does point to that effect. And before I continue and I misspeak, let me get the actual quotes here. So the Quran reads, it says that if you were to see them, you will see that their eyes, that they were, it's as if they were awake. Okay? Well, first of all, it says that when the sun rises and sets, it rises on their right and it sets over the north of their cave. Okay, so it sets. It doesn't set over the north of the planet, obviously, but it sets as if it was north of their cave, so on top of their cave. What the Quran tells us after that, it says that first of all is that when you would walk in, if you were to see them, you would fear them. First of all is you would run in fear of them. Okay. Now the Quran here uses two different verses. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the verses itself here. And it says وهم في جوفة منه ذلك من آيات الله فلو نعم وتحسبهم أيقاظا وهم رقود, and you would assume, if you were to see them, you would assume that they were awake, but in fact they were asleep, and we flipped them from their right to their left, and their dog is in the وَصَلْبُهُمْ بَاسِطٌ ذِرَاعَيْهِ بِالْوَسِيطِ. So first thing is it says that in the narrations it says if you were to see them, the first thing you would notice is that their eyes were open. So it's not like they were sleeping. Okay, it's as if they were awake, and they were in a very scary status. So they had a hayba, a fear from them. So an individual that would see them would run before they were afraid. Okay, so you have flight basically and fear, and one is after the other. What they say is that the flight is a reaction to danger. Fear is an emotion based upon that reaction. So the Quran here says you would run away before fear kicks in. So that's how scary they were. And some scholars, they say, and their dog, it's as if he was in attack position. So some translators say that he was sleeping with his arms forward at the mouth of the cave, while some say no, the Quran is trying to lean towards the concept of he was in attack position. Okay, so meaning that his arms are extended ahead of him and that he is pulled back ready to attack. Now these are just understandings. However, the fact of the matter is that Allah protected them in multiple ways. We do not know what those ways are other than what the Quran has mentioned. Now, adding to that is that when we're saying sorry, when we're talking about the fact that they were sleeping in there and then they were slumbering in there, all of that is bestowed favor by Allah. So whatever methods, we know that Allah can work in mysterious ways to hide them from everybody. That's up to Allah to do.
Ahsant. Thank you so much. So those are all the questions that I had. I think we answered all the questions also that we put on the Instagram as well. So I'm going to go to the questions that were being asked. So we'll start off with Jawad's, which was, are they alive to this day? I think some other people are asking that question. So are they alive?
So no, they're not alive. So the story continues and says that after they were found, that and the idea is that when they did go back into town to buy some food, and the Quran says on their behalf, it says to find azka, Azka means the purest of food, means the halal food, as opposed to just any regular food. Wa atharaha means that it's tahir and halal, that it's not najis and it's not haram. And they had wariq. Wariq means currency. Some narrations, they say that due to the strange currency, because it has already been 300 years, and that the currency had the face of the king in their time, which would have been old currency at the time, and due to their representation, as you assume, 300 years is a long time. If you were to sleep and wake up 300 later, your attitude, your look, your clothes, your behavior, everything about you is different. Nonetheless, they found them somehow, and when they found them, the word became known. So the Christian king who was in charge of the nearing city at the time came to them. When they came to them, basically Allah at that point had taken their lives in order to stop the fitna from spreading, in order to stop the problems from spreading. So they did pass away, and that's where you have the dispute where some people said, bury this cave, okay, and let their Lord care for them. And others says, no, we shall build a shrine or a masjid, a place of worship over their cave. And this leads you to the fact that the individuals who do not believe in God at that time still wanted to bury the proof, the evidence of Allah, the ayat of Allah. So they said, bury the cave and leave it behind you. While others, no. And that was the ghalaba. The ghalaba was the people of faith who actually took a masjid over their grave, which by the way, and this kind of veers off, but from this ayah is where our scholars take the authority and the right to build masajid over the caves of the awliya salihin. Keep in mind that these are not prophets, these are awliya salihin. And the Quran assures the fact that the Quran here does not say anything bad about the fact that these individuals built a mosque over top of their gate of their grave. Rather, the Quran mentions it and leaves it at the mention, meaning that what we would call as iqrar, meaning that it was a correct action to do.
Ahsant. We have some that's, I think, what kept them full with food and water. I think we kind of answered that. And then were they still alive after 300 years? We also answered that. I think the rest of them are fiqhi questions, so it's kind of unrelated to the topic.
They can message me directly if they're interested.
Yeah, I think we'll keep those for a separate session, or if they really want the answers to those questions, we can send them directly to you. Sheikh Khaled, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm sorry, just 1 second. That question is important. What's ghalaba? Ghalaba means the upper hand. So the ghalaba means that the upper hand were to the believers who wanted to build a masjid. And I apologize for cutting you off, Brother Ali.
No, thank you so much. I just wanted to thank you for joining us once again. I know next week we have one final session that's planned that will be talking about Sayyidah Maryam, inshallah, and her story. And inshallah, we look forward to having you once again. And thank you for your inspiring words and your stories and your knowledge. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Allah يحفظكم.
Ahsantum. Wow, what a wonderful lecture. Honestly, every time I hear Sheikh Khaled, inspires more and more for myself personally to learn more, because seeing how much he knows and all his knowledge about the Quran and the stories of the prophets really inspires me. Inshallah, now we're going to go to our final reciter of the day, which is Brother Hamza Shah, and he has a poem. I hope I can add him. So let's see how this works. So far, so good. After our initial issues with this technology, we haven't. Salaam alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Brother Ali. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. How are you doing? How's the family?
I'm doing good. They're all good, thank you.
Yeah, you're looking a lot, tidier than myself down there.
Yeah.
That's good. Alhamdulillah. We don't have too much time, so I'm just gonna go. We have about less than 10 minutes, so hopefully. So go ahead.
Sure. It's a lot smaller. It's quite small, but I
that's fine. That's fine. Just take your time.
So it's just a poem about Imam Ali.
Ahsant.
And yeah, so okay. So I'm just grabbing it here. Okay.
Yeah.
Countless generations have passed since he graced our planet with his presence, with the aura of a king, but humble in his essence. He is Imam Ali, and he is known to Muslims around the world. An epitome of love and peace, a gateway to the city of knowledge, an endless amount of knowledge that never ceased. He never ceased to amaze me. Since I was a child, I would hear intently and listen to his stories. Listen, but not with my ears, but with my eyes. I could see who he was as a person, as a father, as a friend. I could feel his passion for his religion, for his people, for his family. In my heart and in my soul, I knew that this was a man who embodied perfection and purity, who stood against injustice, and it showed in his kin, in his sons, in his daughters, who have shaped and built what we know as the religion of Islam today, of the Ahlul Bayt and their progeny, the line of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is both as gentle as he was fierce, who did nothing for himself and everything for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He who is a portrayal of every good characteristic known to mankind, kind to all, even to those who wronged him, and the amount of dignity and devotion he had for our Lord is so magnificently and so unimaginably high, even now as we try to imagine just how glorified he was, it isn't enough. And I think and I know that no matter how I perceive him to be, he is still better. And no matter what kind of person I imagine him to be, he is still superior. And my thoughts lead to wonder, and my wonder leads to an epiphany, and my epiphany leads to amazement. He never ceased to amaze me. And I am reminded and motivated to do even more. And in this blessed month of Ramadan, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends his blessings to us as we breathe, as we speak, as we sleep, and multiplies our prayers and our recitations of the Holy Quran, I feel a sense of rejuvenation and a longing for worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to follow in the footsteps of Imam Ali and all that he stood for. He stood firmly and proudly, but never let pride overcome him. To be patient and merciful so that the most merciful would be pleased with him. To be faithful unconditionally, without question, without doubt, and every action he took was taken with the intention of pleasing our Lord and Creator. And my wonder grows, and my epiphany grows, and my amazement grows evermore. He never ceases to amaze me. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. MashaAllah. Thank you so much. You never seem to amaze us. You never, MashaAllah. Was that a personal piece that you wrote?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
MashaAllah. How long would you say it took you overall to write that piece?
I've been writing it on and off probably like 3-4 hours, I'd say. Yeah, I think I could. I hope it wasn't too short.
No, mashallah, it was amazing. Yeah, no, it's not, honestly, with poetry, it's not about the length of it, when it's powerful words, and the topic itself is a very big topic itself. So
right, yeah.
But yeah, I think the fewer the words, the even the better that it becomes.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
No, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Hamza.
Thank you.
Yeah, send my salams to your brothers and your mom as well. Sorry, go ahead.
I will. No problem. I was just going to mention that I did see Nuri Sardar's poem recently as well, and I just wanted to also say it was amazing.
MashaAllah,
so I'm also very humbled and honored to also be able to recite. So thank you as well.
Inshallah.
I hope everyone enjoys.
I hope you're our Nuri Sardar, that you're the next coming.
Thank you.
Inshallah. Why not?
Inshallah.
Thank you so much, Brother Hamza, for coming on and for sharing those amazing words with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Khudafis. Bye.
Take care. So that wraps up our program this evening. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us. To everyone who is on YouTube and who watched through there, thank you also for all the attendees and for all your comments, for all your hearts, and for all your questions. Inshallah, like I mentioned, next Monday we'll be having the final session of Ramadan with Sheikh Khaled, which will be the topic of Sayyida Maryam alayha salam. So a very wonderful woman, one of the greatest women in the world. So if you want to join us, if you have any questions regarding Sayyida Maryam or Prophet Jesus, please bring them to that session. I also want to mention that on Saturday night, we'll also be having the Night of Power. We're going to be conducting all the a'mal. So after iftar, around 10 or 10:30, we'll be starting the a'mal for that night. So we'll be reciting the Quran. We'll be reciting where you put the Quran on your head, and we'll be reciting Dua Jawshan. So we'd love to have all you join. If there's anyone that's interested, we'll be sending out the poster soon. If anyone's interested in reciting for that program, whether it's Quran or the Dua, please message the Instagram, the Muslim Youth in Motion Instagram, and just say, I want to, participate on that night. And inshallah, we'd love to include as many of the youth. It's going to be youth-led, so we want to get as many youth available to recite and to help out. It's going to be, a great night. It's the third night, which is the night that it's most likely the Night of Power. So we hope that